That's weird. They let us get followers. There's like 160 people watching right now. That's not normal. That's weird. Salutations, my friends. And thank you for tuning in to another edition. Salutations, my friends. Salutations. We have a somewhat information-packed episode, not really lined up for you guys. You know, I wish I could say this is going to be an outstanding transmission, but not really, man. Not really. You know. And salutations to all of our new viewers, apparently. Holy crap. And salutations to some of our new listeners. We have Friction by Ariel bringing us in. Some hard wave. It's super nice. And low-key joke. I like it. I like it. You know, it's always interesting trying to prepare for these shirts, or for these shows. Yeah, new shirt. It's always weird trying to prepare for these shirts or these shows because, you know, you're listening to what people want to talk about. You're trying to make stuff relevant. And you're also trying to get across some of your own thoughts, right? Because I'm a person too, outside of all this other stuff that we have to do. And so it's always interesting preparing for these shows because of the news cycle, how many different things take place globally, locally, personally, and so much more. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noisera, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer. And guess what, guys? We only have what is it? We have 3 more Instagram lives, 2 more podcast episodes, and 1 more exclusive member episode, and then we're done for this year, for this season, season 10. It's crazy, you know. And I've been thinking really, really hard about how we're going to make that switch and that change. James Britton says, "You taking the vaccine?" Maybe if I was smoking a little bit of crack, I might take it. You know, if I was hitting the crack pipe and maybe smoking like a little bit of angel dust, and you know, I felt like maybe hitting some peyote and mescaline, maybe I might take the vaccine. But since I'm sober-minded, I don't think so. I think I'll take my chances. But you know, it's crazy because this past weekend, after going through like a training with some of the new listeners and some of the people here locally, you know, I started talking about how I'm going to have to change platforms. I'm going to have to migrate. Instagram, I say this now, we currently have 135 listeners right now. That's kind of strange. Normally we hover around like 10 or 20 live, but that kind of leads me to my point that we have to migrate off of Instagram. They are clearly censoring and manipulating our information and our success. They're literally throttling where we're supposed to be. And so I'm having to check out things like Parler, check out things like Minds, check out things like MeWe. You know, try to make sure that I keep posting stuff on our Telegram channel. You know, and I had to keep reminding myself every time I got into this conversation with people is, hey, you're not starting from scratch. You're migrating. Okay, and that's much different. Several years ago, coming up 8 years ago, when you started this, you were starting from scratch. You had no idea what you were doing. Now you have almost 300,000 followers as a base and as a badge to migrate from. And so I got to make that commitment. I think what I'm trying to really say is we will be doing shows here regularly, but I think we're going to have Parler or something like that be our primary platform so we can continue. You know, and I'll make an announcement, I'm sure, about that either next year or as we start season 11, but there are some changes that have to take place. You know, and it would be stupid and foolish for us to think otherwise. It would be stupid for us to try to ride this wave. You know, I'll say this and I'll fly through the quick updates with you guys. I post stuff on my personal Fed book but I don't really talk to people on my personal Fedbook. It's really kind of there as like a vestigial outpost that people can just like see what I'm kind of somewhat up to. And I say that because people think that Fedbook is the battleground. People think Instagram is the battleground. The sad part is a large swath of the population is no doubt going to be on these mainstream media platforms, but that shouldn't be your target. We would not be able to refine our message, figure out our niche, expand upon all these things if we were trying to appeal to the general public. I was saying this to a lot of other people over the weekend, that what we do, sometimes it seems like a little arrogant, braggadocious, rough, rugged, and just like all over the place, guerrilla, no doubt. What we do is we act as a safe space, a harbor for the curious, and a safe haven for people like ourselves. And that's the problem. And I'll get into this later on with some of the topics. Escalating to neutralize. I know that kind of sounds crazy, but get radical so other people don't. That's kind of what we're having to do with the information. You know, just last week we were talking about my imperious manner and why it's so blah, 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 blah. Well, it's necessary because the capitulation and the compliance is what's got us here. And if we don't begin to see any, I don't know, abnormal behavior, any interruptions as to what people expect, well, then we're just going to go about things as normal. And so I think everybody can see this, and they're asking themselves these questions deep down. Hey, how am I going to change? How, and if we can get into this, I'll ask the question, what did 2020 teach you? Everybody's acting like, oh, we need to get back to the new normal. The sad truth is, I'm not saying I'm being propagandized. The sad truth is, we've got to start thinking about what else we want to do, how we have to change, how we can't just sit here on social media and be like a personality. You have to get out there. I'm to the point now to where I have to take time out before I come up here and talk to you guys, because I'm involved in so much stuff that can't get talked about until it gets disclosed, or at least until we move it from the private into the public field, and then start, you know, asking people for support and donations and petitions and stuff like that. But I digress. The world's getting crazy. You have to change. You can't stay the same. And if you do, you're only doing a disservice to yourself. Let me go through a few updates, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I can't put the patreon.com/Freedom Faction little link right there, but if you guys want to support this operation, you can do so by joining our patreon.com/Freedom Faction exclusive membership program. I won't lie, I've kind of been, because of all my other community things, I've been kind of slacking on talking with the crew and keeping them up to date with what I'm doing. The last time I kind of popped in there, I told them that I'm doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I think I might have to splinter off and make a separate page, because, you know, filing lawsuits against the governor, filing lawsuits against the state, working at food banks, you know, doing volunteer work, helping people run food drives and stuff like that. That's stuff that's equally as important as the show, but I haven't figured out a way to translate that. And so when you support this operation, you guys can kind of get the behind the scenes of the other stuff that I'm doing. Lord knows there's just so much stuff that I'm doing. You can't see it right here, but there is a, what is this one? This is just a 30-day food supply of my storable good, of My Patriot storable goods. If you guys don't have storable goods, you probably are trying to ignore what we're posting about food banks being overrun, food insecurity, and all these other things. I can't really speak to that, but for those people that actually want to get storable goods, again, you can find that link in the description bar at the bottom of this episode. I'll put it there. Get yourself some storable goods. You know, and if you don't know how to hunt, if you don't know how to fish, if you don't know how to like go out there and go kill stuff and then, you know, butcher the animal and process the meat, you know, store it, these are the times to learn these things. So go out there and go get connected with the community, try to talk to people who are like-minded. Maybe they can do skill shares and exchange things. There's so much that needs to happen right now that unfortunately I can't really talk to at all. But yeah, My Patriot Supply is the place to go for storable goods. If you want to support this operation, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Freedom Faction, and let me fly through these topics, and then we'll go ahead and get this episode started. We'll be talking about the anti-human nature of COVID-19, the useless eaters philosophy, and this is something I've kind of been talking about throughout the entirety of the pandemic, my friends, that, you know, with them saying you need an immunity passport, a vaccine certificate, that's the equivalent of being asked where are your papers, as if we're some dirty humans. I've talked about it time and time throughout this pandemic that we are now the Jews underneath this technocratic Nazi rule. So I'll get into more of that in that segment. We'll also talk about how we've gotten them to show their faces and admit their agendas. A couple weeks ago, we went over things like Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset and how he has basically externalized the hierarchy, basically pitching the New World Order to the masses, getting them to adopt their ideology. We'll talk more about that and why it is necessary for us to begin to escalate in order to neutralize this threat. I think everybody can see it, you know, all over the place, the creeping technocratic rule. And again, that's what I was saying, is the capitulation is what's got us here. And again, like, we don't know. This is such a new type of warfare that it's foreign to us. And again, this is something we've talked about throughout the entirety of the year. The hybrid warfare, biological warfare, psychological warfare, financial warfare, spiritual warfare, economic warfare, you know, all of these different things. We are experiencing a completely different siege on society to where we don't really know how to handle it. And so, as a response, I would think that the great renaissance, the great resistance is necessary, but again, escalating to neutralize that threat. I'll get into more of that later on in the segment. And finishing off this transmission, I don't want to keep it too crazy. I'll probably get into this, you know, with guests, whoever join us, but no one is immune from the work. That's what I have right here. No one is immune from the work. You know, 2020 revealed ourselves to who we really are. What did this year teach you? You know, and how putting in the work, you know, 2 to 3 hours every week, wherever it is, see where it goes. I've got Zoom meetings and then personal appearances and stuff that I've got to prepare for this weekend. And I can tell you, my friends, ever since getting involved in some of the activities I've had, yeah, I've kind of lost time and sleep, but my God, the clarity and the focus and the drive and just that positive synergy that takes place from working with like-minded individuals locally, sleep can't compare. So yeah, no, we'll talk more about that in the third segment and how, again, no one is immune to the work. Silence, 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 silence. So, you know, I think everybody, again, can see, like, the anti-human nature of COVID. You can't shake hands. You can't hug. You're not allowed Christmas no more. You know, you're not allowed to have gatherings of at least, I don't know what the hell it is, 2 to 5 people or whatever the hell it is. This is foolish. You know, just the other day I was out getting me some brisket fries from local establishment, and they had a cute little sign right there. As soon as I walked in, I was so fired up because it was brisket fries. But I was so fired up that I saw this sign right there. It said, please sign in if you support contact tracing. And the way that it was worded, it was a joke. They were trolling. So I go up there, you know, I asked the chick at the counter, I'm like, hey, is that a joke? Is that a joke, like with the contact tracing? She's like, no, like, our boss doesn't support that type of stuff. He is staunchly against it. And I'm like, so you're telling me I can pop in here real quick, have me some brisket fries, and I don't have to sign in? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I see you guys have whiskey too. I don't have to contact trace you, and I'm not going to get contact traced if I come in here and have brisket fries and whiskey. That's okay? Yeah, for sure. But that's the problem now. That the idea of not being contact traced, of not being submissive, of not being compliant to this is like revolutionary. That's what's going to end up happening. You're going to have pockets of people, and I was saying this just yesterday in the Instagram story, pockets of organizations and establishments, groups and communities that are practicing freedom. I mean, my God, just before coming onto the air, I asked it in this story as well. How do you guys feel about certain politicians and organizations calling for martial law? And so when we have this, I'm getting into politics, this isn't COVID. When we have this kind of pick your own reality, separatist thing taking place right now, this is very dangerous. Here, you know what? let me get into this article over here, and I think that'd be a better way for me to restart because I'm getting right into politics and stuff that I just read instead of getting into this, the anti-human nature of COVID-19. I'm going to be reading you guys real quick this article that comes from Zero Hedge. They put this up December 4th. It says that China is the biggest threat to national security and has been conducting super soldier experiments, says John Ratcliffe, the director of the National Intelligence. Now, I'll cover this more on this week's podcast episode, but before I get into this, longtime listeners have been listening to me whenever I talk about, transhumanism, biohacking, genetically modified babies, designer babies, things of this nature. Longtime listeners will remember the Chinese geneticist He Jiankui. Remember whenever he came to America and talked about his babies, Nana and Lulu, that he made resistant to HIV and AIDS. It was all the rage for the while, and then he just disappeared. And then whenever he resurfaced, he was underneath house arrest because he was making a series of TV appearances here in America. This had to at least been 2 to 3 years ago. Fast forward to where we're at now. One of the components about COVID-19 is that it does in fact carry some of the same genetic markers of HIV and AIDS. And so when I'm about to read to you how China has been working on super soldiers and more, that's because they're making them resistant to some of the other viruses and diseases that they have down the line. This is again why they're telling you right out, hey, you're going to get used to seeing people experimented upon. You're going to get used to seeing mass die-offs. You have to get used to this. That's the sad part. They're clearly violating the Nuremberg Code and all this stuff, but that's not what this is about. Again, what this is saying and talking about and going into is the transhumanist aspect of the technocracy. When you have, again, Klaus Schwab of the Great Reset, of the World Economic Forum, talking about the merging of biological material, physical material, and digital material, they're saying that they want to be able to track and trace you. This is, again, what I've said time and time again, that there will be no humans in the technocracy, only transhumans, and we are in the beginning stages of that. So this is, again, the anti-human nature of COVID. Let me read this article and then we'll continue on. It says, Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe says that China is the #1 threat of the U.S. national security, democracy, and freedom since World War II, and warns that America faces a, quote, once-in-a-generation challenge to resist Beijing's effort to reshape the world, quote, in its own image. Quote, the intelligence is clear, writes Ratcliffe in a Wall Street Journal op-ed. Quote, Beijing intends to dominate the U.S. and the rest of the planet economically, militarily, and technologically. Many of China's major public initiatives and prominent companies offer only a layer of camouflage to the activities of the Chinese Communist Party. China employs what Ratcliffe calls a, quote, rob, replicate, and replace strategy of economic espionage by which Beijing robs U.S. companies of their intellectual property, copies it, and then replaces the U.S. firm they stole it from in the global marketplace. I think everybody would agree with that. Goes on to say that Ratcliffe points out that the case of the Chinese wind turbine manufacturer Sinovel, which in 2018 a federal jury found guilty of stealing trade secrets from America's superconductor, costing the U.S. firm over 700 jobs and $1 billion in shareholder value, Sinovel now sells wind turbines worldwide, quote, as if it built a legitimate business through ingenuity and hard work rather than theft. It goes on to talk more about some of the things that they're involved in and the money that they're doing. I'm going to fast forward down here to where they talk about super soldiers because I have a clip for you, my friends. Just before getting onto the air, there was a segment on Tucker Carlson's show where another professor has come out talking about having Chinese agent spies in the upper echelons of American politics. Now, just last week, I talked to you about how Chinese sociologist Li Yi said, as long as we keep working, we will drive the U.S. economy to its death. So I guess what I'm saying is, because now I'm again getting into politics when I'm trying to get into COVID, what I'm saying is what happens whenever you have so much bravado, so much pride, so much just like, these guys got some huevos on them, bruh. They got some testicles. They got some balls to sit up over here and talk about destruction of the United States. It's no longer like conspiracy theory. It's no longer just like up for It's no longer a joke. Like they're borderline telling you right out, yeah, no, we've infiltrated the American government, we've infiltrated their politics, we've bought out their Hollywood, we've bought out some of their politicians, their music stars, the NBA, all kinds of other stuff, and we're gradually making our move. And as long as we just keep working and stealing stuff from them, we will drive their economy into debt. This stuff is crazy. So here, let me get into the super soldier aspect, and I'll try to, again, just get into this, because I'm not talking about the anti-human nature of COVID. I'm just going on a political rant about all the bullshit we have to deal with. But it goes on to talk about, in an odd comment, how Ratcliffe says that the U.S. intelligence shows that China has even conducted human testing on members of the People's Liberation Army in hope of developing soldiers with biologically enhanced capabilities, adding that, quote, there are no ethical boundaries to Beijing's pursuit of power. As we noted in April, citing a report published by Defense One, China has highlighted biology as a military priority, and the People's Liberation Army could be at the forefront of expanding and exploiting this knowledge. So Chinese super soldiers that are disease resistant, able just to come in here and come mess up whatever they want. And they've been, and the sad truth is we've talked about this, Russia also has super soldiers. We've talked about that as well. But here, get back on this. On the anti-human nature of COVID. Think about this. They're telling you that the vaccine is going to hurt people, that you're going to need 2 different vaccines. The head of Pfizer, one of their scientists, literally came out. The CEO of Pfizer said that he's not certain that the vaccine will stop people from carrying and spreading COVID-19. This is crazy. Yeah, I said I was gonna play that quick video for you guys of that professor admitting that they have infiltrated U.S. politics. I think I'll play that on this week's podcast episode. For the sake of time, I want to just kind of get back into COVID-19 and all these other things that are happening right now. The FDA has confirmed that Pfizer's vaccine is 95% effective, but warns of a severe adverse reactions after the second dose. So what happens whenever the world that we begin to live in mirrors that of like a science fiction movie, where they're telling you, we're going to lock you up because you got a common cold, we're going to give you a deadly vaccine, you're not able to sue the manufacturers, and you're not able to do anything unless you receive the vaccine. I have to drill this down for this week's podcast episode. How many different people have begun to say the world will not return to normal unless we receive the vaccine? So we're literally being propagandized to, told, and being held hostage that we will not have our normal life without submitting to this dangerous vaccine. So again, I gotta move past this, because what we're really talking about is death science and eugenics at the end of the day. We're being told that, again, we're being held hostage, saying that you cannot go back to movies, you can't go back to the bar, you can't go back to music festivals, you can't go back to shows, you can't do anything without submitting to this vaccine. You know, and I'll be honest with you, because I'm going to move on from this. We are normalizing population control, or better yet, reviving it with this type of talk. You know, whenever you have, and this is what I was talking about at the start of the show, when you have Klaus Schwab and other people basically inducting and inculcating entire countries into this technocratic ideology, basically saying, hey, no, we're going to start doing population control. There's only a certain amount of people that are going to get the good vaccines. We got to start doing tests on the lower end population. That's crazy. Whenever, again, I tell you that the powers that be are essentially a continuation of the Nazis, this is it. Saying, show me your papers, show me your genetics, show me that you've, again, submitted to this technocracy. The useless eaters philosophy. I, again, have to talk about that this week on the podcast episode. The mental health epidemic that is just like outpouring because of this. How suicide rates are literally off the charts right here. Mental health hits 20-year low ahead of renewed lockdowns. They know full well what they're doing to people. They're strangling us like Jeffrey Epstein. And the idea is to get us into compliance, getting us to comply. You know, I think I can't stress this enough because I've had some people recently come out and message me saying that, you need to calm down. You're being a little bit more aggressive when because you are in the alternative media. You need to be able to speak to people in a more peaceful fashion. You need to be able to make this information more approachable. We shouldn't try to shame people and stuff like this. I say, yeah, that is for sure like an angle to take, but I also feel like it's the candy ass approach towards a lot of this stuff that's got us here. And last year, when I'm talking about a culture of degeneracy, a culture of decadence, right, of sloth-like behavior, where they just tell you there is no God, F your Jesus, right? All of this evil stuff that's just gone on for years. This is not necessarily what I'm preaching against. This is what I'm talking about. And while I'm saying we need to literally take this that much serious, these people are much more organized and they're much more sophisticated than us. But because we don't seem to care about how they are culturally taking over things, psychologically nerfing us, turning us into inept retards to where we feel like we have to capitulate and ask for permission, we're losing. We can't ask for permission. We have to ask for forgiveness. And so I guess what I'm really trying to say is we are becoming, again, a death cult country. This is what happens when you have a culture of decadence and degeneracy that creates politics that greenlight it. And at the end of the day, that's okay. This is America. You're allowed to have as much freedom as you want. And that's the whole point. They want to legalize as much as they can. So you kill yourself. You check out who won with the most recent election, you'll find out it was drugs. You'll find out who won the 2020 elections. It was drugs. We lost the war on drugs. We greenlit it, for sure. Because now all kinds of people are locked down, stuck inside their house, drinking alcohol all kinds, banging back all kinds of pills, smoking all kinds of weed. That's who won the 2020 election. Drugs. And I'm not talking smack because everybody's going through stress right now, but that's again a part of the point, is to get people broken down, to destroy their willpower, to rob them of their drive to live. This is again that culture of degeneracy. I said it just last week. We get the government we deserve, and whenever we want to act irresponsible, whenever we want to act like a bunch of scumbags and degenerate, destroying shit, breaking shit, having free everything, well then I guess that just makes us slaves to this government. I'll put it to you again. Just last week, I was talking about how some of the conversations I was having over Thanksgiving and over the week break were just that. Why are we taking orders from our servants? But this is how we are. We're like spoiled brats that don't know what the hell we've inherited. We're the anti-Bruce Wayne being led around by Alfred. This is what's happened right now. We are incapable of governing ourselves. So of course we would abdicate our power to this system that's designed to rob us of our rights. And right now, as we hit the twilight of 2020, you can see them making their move. Oh, you don't want to get in politics because that's the system. Oh, you don't want to organize because when you stand up, you might get counted. Oh, don't want to put your head out there. You sure as shit might what? Inspire people to make change? Get tired of what they're seeing on the television and actually do something about it? You get me? Because this is what happened. We became weak. We became complacent. We became comfortable. We just didn't care, dude. And so that's okay. That's all right. What's going to happen now is we're going to go into bondage. Because that's literally all I just talked about right there. This culture of degeneracy and decadence is going to lead towards slavery. And nobody wants to preach freedom. Nobody wants to preach individuality. Nobody wants to preach standing up for yourself. Nobody wants to nut up and explain this stuff. And so guess what? We're going into slavery. They have allowed people to have so much freedom that now we're killing ourselves. And that's okay. That's okay. That's a part of the population control as well. Because as you now see all of this stuff coming out, right? You've got the choice. I got to move on. These are all topics I'm talking about right now. We got them to show their face and admit their agendas. Marvelous. Marvelous. Now we have a choice to make. We've got something to do. We can't just sit here and allow for such degeneracy to take place. I want something for my kids. I want something for my future. And the current configuration of not only politics, culture, government, business, and more will rob me and my children of the childhood that I had, man. Agenda 2030 and Agenda 21 are literally in stark contradiction of just like how I was raised, like traveling the world, living out in nature, communing like with animals, you know, and just like really, really doing that stuff. And so when I'm telling you that we have to fight this, both politically, culturally, economically, spiritually, and so much more, this is again what I was saying by the hybrid war we have now found ourselves in. This is why stuff is so intense right now, is because this isn't just another false flag. This isn't just another like shooting. This isn't just another blah, blah, blah. This is the final push. And when they start getting some of this stuff in, it's going to be hell on earth. And so all we have right now is a chance. And you can either stand up and be counted, or go ahead and sit your little ass down and put the mask on, because nobody cares about what you say. And that's a part of it as well. We got them to show their faces and admit their agenda. Now it's time for us to be just as committed. I was talking about this over the weekend. And I've been trying to figure out how to talk to you guys about it as well. And I don't want to hear, oh, you're still caught in the left-right paradigm. This is me trying to figure out how to gauge our enemies. As the Democrats become like socialists and communists, does this mean that the Republicans are going to become like fascists and nationalists, or fascists and socialists? I don't know. But because of the Overton window expanding, the breaking of the social contract, again, them beginning to reveal who they are, we've got to identify targets, identify assailants, identify threats, identify who is causing this. Otherwise, it will persist. This is what I was saying beforehand. Escalate to neutralize. We now have to be just as committed as the very same people that are like, no, we're going to shoot you up with vaccines. You have a problem with that? Well, put this guy in a quarantine camp. He doesn't want to get a vaccine. What the fuck? We have to be just as committed as these people who are like, no, for sure. No church for you, you silly Christians. You're not allowed to go to church. Ha ha ha. We have to be just as committed as the very same people who are robbing us of our rights. And I don't mean, hey, go grab your gun and run up into the middle of the street and go kill like a politician. No. This is, again, a part of that new warfare I was talking about. We've got to understand what our assets are. We've got to understand what our tools are. We've got to understand what we're capable of as individuals and as a collective. Because I can bet you, my friends, every single person that's watching right now, you have somebody that's just as committed as myself in your neighborhood, or at least in your area. But you got to reach out there. You got to do the work. You got to go out there and network. You got to make that commitment to say, you know what, this is no longer theory. This stuff is for real happening. I've got to find like-minded individuals around me and in my own region to where we can organize, to where we can get focused. Because you just can't keep sitting up over here on social media doing all this. It's counterproductive. This is me talking to myself at this point. This is me telling you, you've got to get out there. I'm not telling you, hey, go organize a protest. But you can find me at my state capitol December 12th, this Saturday. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm also not telling you to do all kinds of other things. But I am telling you, you need to reach down deep and figure out what you're willing to contribute to what's happening right now. Because history's happening. And it's not going to be it's not going to be rose-colored like what you see in the TV books or in the history books. It's going to be a little bit crazier this time around. You know, we got them to show their faces and admit their agendas. And so now we have to be just as committed to our own. And I've always said this. That's the crazy thing as we go down this thought process. I've always said this. It's the only reason we're in this predicament is because we're out organized. There's no structure here. There's no organization. There's again no synergy. You get what I'm saying? And I get that, you know, because we're all free-thinking individuals. Nobody wants to take orders. You know, go live your life, go do your thing, whatever. Go do it. But what happens whenever threats like this occur and we're basically incapable of combating it? We're able to share memes. That's cool. Exchange information. That's dope. But whenever we're not able to effectively organize and combat this strategic assault, not only against our rights, but essentially against the future, that don't mean shit. And so I think what you guys are really hearing is how cool, I got 300 followers. That don't mean tiddlywink in the face of what's happening. But at the same time, now because I have 300,000 followers, I can link up with lawyers. I can link up with businesses. I can link up with politicians. I can link up with groups. I can link up with individual activists, researchers, authors, and all kinds of people in my local area to help get this focus, to help create like a structure and a committee to fight this. And that's what you need to be on. You don't need to be over here trying to get famous on social media. It's a fucking waste. Let me tell you right now, it's a waste. What you need to do is go do the work. No one's immune from it, okay? No one's immune from it. This is what I mean by escalating in order to neutralize their threat. Let me move on with some more of these topics. You know, over the weekend, I don't want to say too much. Over the weekend, you know, I was doing some training. I was doing some training with some individuals, and you know, we were just trying to figure out not only close quarters combat, but also how to deal with like mobs of people and stuff like that. And it was pretty cool, and I'm definitely going to do it again. But one of the things that I had contributed to the conversation and to the overall training is just that, you know, when somebody asked the question of what are we training for, you know, why are we doing this? We're not going to kill people, are we? No, we're not killing people. No, we're not going to kill people. But we also want to be able to defend and protect ourselves. And so the general summarization of what I was trying to present to the class was just that, the necessity of being violent for peaceful sake. I know that sounds crazy, but that comes from me. Why violence is necessary so we can keep the peace. Don't escalate on me, so I'll break your goddamn neck. And I'm not a tough guy, but I am somebody that appreciates his peace of mind, a peaceful environment, a safe space, and all kinds of other things. But when you have people who are in direct opposition of your peace, trying to instigate and agitate it, you have a God-given right to not only protect yourself, but at the same time, seek peaceful resolution for yourself as well as the space. You hear me? You hear me? Peaceful resolution. Escalating in order to neutralize the threat. Being able to contain all of that possible controversy so that it doesn't bubble over. A lot of the people that we're talking about these days, threats, so to speak, that's their main thing, is to create so much drama. But I'll save all that for later. But what I was trying to say by telling you that quick story is, again, the necessity to escalate in order to neutralize the threat, to again have peaceful resolution, being able to control and contain that situation. And that's where we find ourselves at right now. We're being overrun. We're not escalating. We're capitulating. We're complying. And that's not how this works. When you comply, again, you're going to get more of what you deserve. When you resist, you're going to get a little bit of respect. You're going to get a little bit of acknowledgement because you're a sovereign, free-thinking individual that has thoughts. But when we're going along like sheeps to the slaughter, what do you think's going to happen? That's why they're telling you upright, hey, guess what? This vaccine's going to poison you. Yep. The vaccine's going to poison you. Your businesses ain't coming back. You know, you don't get your normal life. They do all this because they think you'll listen, and because we've been so brainwashed and have been in such a state of compliance and capitulation that we don't rebel, we don't resist, we don't think for ourselves, that they're like, hell yeah, we have a significant portion of the population brainwashed, manipulatable, and we're going to do it. And that's where we're at right now. And so to come off of the heels of talking about the necessity to escalate in order to neutralize, let me use a different set of words so it doesn't sound so powerful, angry, and everything else. When I first started doing like public appearances and started doing stuff, people started seeing my faces and my face, and I had to like account for all the shit I was doing. You know, I didn't want to sit up over here and say, oh, go grab your guns and run out there into the streets and go depose like your governors and go impeach all these people. That's literally stuff that's new. I didn't want to go down this route. I wanted to go down a creative route. I wanted to go down the Great Renaissance, the Renaissance, a renaissance of ideas. What I mean by that is, I remember doing an episode with Adam Nance and JC Abbott of the Wayfinder podcast. You guys still might be able to find that on our podcast feed. And we had a great discussion over Renaissance, over revolution, over rebellion. And what I mean is these are all different things. Right now you have some people saying that we're experiencing a political revolution as some of these people begin to be exposed for the communist traitors that they are. Now they sold out the government, and how we're going to get people patriot-minded into it. That's one way. You also have people who are saying, you know, we have a rebellion. Look at all these, look at all these people going against the status quo, this, that, and the third. That's another way to look at it. What I'm trying to look at it as is a renaissance in ideas, a renaissance in culture, a renaissance in how we're going about things. You know, politics, culture, music, art, language, and so much more. I want to put forth the thought process of the Great Renaissance, not the Great Reset, because then we just get some more of the same bullshit, just a different day. I'm trying to say we need to have a fundamental change as to how we go about things, what we're putting out there into the world, what we're expecting to get back. And you can bet, and I'll talk more about this, you know, as more of the Great Reset tenets and components come out, but you can bet this very same narrative of like, oh, we're gonna help the earth, we're gonna do it better this time. Are you though? Are you though? Again, what I'm trying to say is we need to start having a conversation about what freedom looks like in this technocratic New World Order. They're already trying to say privacy is archaic, right? Normal human behavior is archaic. All of these things. You've got UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres calling for a push to decarbonize the world. Whenever the human body is 12% carbon, you've literally got them trying to assert control on the world, and civilians and citizens have no narrative, no discussion, no seat at the table. And so that's what I'm talking about right now, how we have a scant chance to insert ourselves at the table and say, hey, no, we exist. We're essential. Isn't that what we heard throughout the entirety of the year? Hey, you're not essential. That's bullshit. Some type of humanity is essential. This is that part right now. This is that great shift that's taking place. This is the great renaissance that must meet the great resistance. You know, because language is important. Words are important. This is why you're always hearing me talk about voting with your dollars and voting with your lifestyle. I think for sure everybody can see the importance of shopping at that mom and pop shop. Not giving all of your money to places like Amazon, to Walmart. These no-name stores just pop up out of nowhere, right? Helping out your friend that did start a business, right? Because you want to see them be successful, right? How nice would it be if everybody donated a single dollar to somebody else's campaign of creativity? But we don't have that now. Nope. What we have, unfortunately, right now, is 82% of Americans that say that they can't afford $500 of emergency funds thanks to COVID. As well as the restaurant industry warning of an economic freefall as 110,000 eateries and countings are permanently shuttered. So we can look at a lot of what's happening right now as a collapse or a reformation or a renaissance. And as the people that we're talking about, Klaus Schwab, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Sergey Brin, Tim Cook, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and we can look at the technocrats for what they prescribe as a solution, the bull crap that got us here, or we can begin to think for ourselves and really create that narrative. My God, I shouldn't be able to come up over here and explain this. Like, this shouldn't be some like, holy shit, we shouldn't pay governments. We shouldn't pay corporations. That shouldn't be some super woke shit. That should be common sense, especially this year. You know, political correctness, corporate culture, all of this stuff to where we abandon our individuality. It's crazy what is happening right now. And then you've got a retired Israeli space security chief saying that aliens exist, but humans aren't ready. It's like, great. So as you're beginning to basically genetically modify the population, making people sterile, turning us into like aliens, you got the propaganda arm over here saying, no, there's aliens. Y'all ain't ready for them though. We got to turn you into the aliens before you get to see the aliens. This is nuts, man. This is nuts. You know, because sometimes whenever I'm not angry like this, I like to get into biblical theology and mythology and history and stuff like this. And, you know, it kind of popped into my head earlier today before the hike. You know, it's kind of what made me think of the Chinese geneticist He and his genetically modified children. And again, reading that article about China having super soldiers, it made me think about how, you know, in the days of Noah, that's why the flood occurred, is because people were so wicked and flesh was so corrupt that life couldn't continue. And when you, again, just study it and where it took place, this is after the fallen angels had transgressed and fell to earth, mating with human wives, that giants are born, mutations take place, sins are happening across the world. That of course flesh would get corrupt. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, how many times have we talked about just strange stuff like this happening? Humanity going through these cycles. You know, because I'm looking, I guess what I'm really trying to say when I'm saying all this is we are looking straight into the barrel of the population control extermination agenda. Like when they are literally telling you that a vaccine is going to manipulate your genetics and your biology. Some people are being told that it's going to make them sterile. That's what some of these studies are saying. You're corrupting humanity. You're corrupting like the natural genetic line of humans, and it's just it's kaput. I mean, I say it all the time. Again, you know, that there will be no humans in the technocracy, only transhumans, but that's a very monumental statement. Chev Monet says, yes, please say the Asian man's name again. Hie Jian Kui. You can spell that He space Jia Nkui. Hie Jian Kui. Yeah, go type it in. He created 2 genetically modified babies, I think a third one as well, Nana and Lulu. He made them genetically resistant to AIDS. Came over, did a series of interviews. You might be able to find some of them on our page and on our Instagram TV. But Hie Jian Kui is the geneticist who talked about creating HIV and AIDS resistant babies. And again, thinking about this in the larger context of things, eugenics, epigenetics. Yes, this one generation might be resistant to AIDS, but what about their babies? Are they able to have babies? Are those babies able to have babies? This is something that people need to think about too when we're looking at these vaccines. Yeah, cool. It might give you, it might let you coast through 2021, but what about your children? What about their children, right? We're literally talking about the manipulation and the modification of people's genes. This is, again, something that's never been, what you would think has never been seen before, but we're about to go through it. And all I can think is prophecy. All I can think of is the Bible, of how you have Noah, purest in all of his generations, meaning he wasn't corrupted, he wasn't manipulated, had a relationship with God, that he was pure, versus all this other wicked stuff that's going on. I could see how that would happen, because when you have mutations taking place, you know, and genes breaking down, it's like, my God, we're going to create the mutants. We're going to create the trolls, the goblins, all of these weird like creatures, man. We're going to do it. And I don't mean that just like, oh, you know, in 2021 there's going to be goblins. like this retired ex-Israeli space security chief says, there's going to be aliens. No. That's what the whole, that's what the whole transgender movement is to, again, break down humanity, to make it seem trendy and cool as we just abdicate our humanity. See, right now, we still have like some human tendencies. That's why I was talking about how all of 2020, the social contract's been broken. They got to break the social contract, break your mind, break your will, and then get you to become an alien, get you to become a monster, right? That's a lot of what these Satanists do when they're conducting a lot of these dark rituals. They're just trying to sever their connection with God, getting deeper into the darkness. That's just on some spiritual occult stuff. I'm talking about on a genetic level, on a psycho-spiritual level, to where they get people, again, to abdicate their humanity. Yeah, I know, dude. I talk about a lot of crazy stuff, but that's because we have to understand, again, how crazy all of these things are. These are not normal times. That's why they're telling you right off the bat, you can have regulatory regulatory flexibility. We will not allow for you to sue some of these vaccine manufacturers, but we're going to make sure these vaccines get out to you. I know this all sounds crazy, but at the same time, people don't understand what we're dealing with and how these are not normal days and how that's the plan. They're not just going to give you free housing, free education, free tuition, free all this stuff, free paper money for nothing. It's gonna cost every single one of your freedoms. And that's why this is so monumental to talk about, and why if we don't stand up now, when all of this stuff really starts hitting, we're gonna be flat-footed and we're gonna be scared. We're gonna be so behind the ball that we're gonna not know what's hitting us. That's why the stuff I'm saying to you now, just clear-faced and just as normal, just as normal as the sun comes up. I can see it. And when it starts happening, I'll still refer back to that time where I told you guys about this. Remember that time I told you about aliens? Remember that time I told you about them turning us into mutants? Remember that time I told you about them doing all of this stuff? Because that's the problem. We shouldn't just be remembering when. We should be saying, you remember that time I tried to go up to Congress and I tried to stop this? Remember that time I tried to like shut down Monsanto? You remember that time I tried to like stop Moderna? That's what we should be. We should be saying, no, we got lawsuits ready for some of these companies. We got lawsuits against some of these judges for some of the things that they're doing. We should just be remembering factoids of epigenetics and population control. Factoids of how they're trying to kill us. You got people over here in the comments talking about cyborgs. The sad thing is, you know, people already understand that's an inherent thing. That's another aspect of it. Getting people to, again, abdicate their humanity. What did Elon Musk come out and say earlier this year? Hey guys, guess what? I know we're going through a pandemic. That's all cool and stuff, but for the low price of $$99, you can go ahead and get yourself a brain and machine Neuralink interface right there implanted on the base of your skull. Isn't that great? Now you can get those news feeds directly injected into your brain. And so think about this. As people have been broken, disheveled, and brainwashed, you've got, again, a technocrat coming out saying, oh, can't go outside? Let us put microneedles inside of your brain so we can hook you up to the cyberspace. And this is happening in the middle of a pandemic. At the very same time, they're telling you, hey, guess what? We can insert vaccines inside of you that keep your vaccine records. Isn't that so great? You see the gradual inculcation and the gradual introduction of transhumanism, getting you to abdicate your humanity. Join the Borg Collective. Put your mask on. It's just 15 days to slow the spread. What's wrong with you? Didn't you see Elon Musk came out with his brain and machine Neuralink interface? You don't want that? Bill Gates is trying to get us a vaccine? My God, you might be one of them conspiracy theorists. You need to stop thinking for yourself. Go get you a PlayStation 5. Just chill out. What are you so worried about? What are you so worried about? You know, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, because I got people blowing me up right now. When we take a break, we're going to come back and talk about how no one is immune to the work. No one is immune to the work. 2020 revealed ourselves to who we really are. What did this year teach you? I'm going to ask that to the guests that join us. And where else you put in the work? Where else? Not on social media, not on just your gamer score, not on just your followers, but where else did you do the work? You able to do more sit-ups? You able to do more push-ups? What's your mile look like? What's your medicine cabinet look like? Do you care? Like, the reason I'm yelling is because we're all bass backwards, my friends. We are all bass backwards. We're thinking about the wrong things. Our priorities are not right. Over here, yelling at people, telling them to put their fucking mask on, looking like goddamn zombies. This is the problem. We're in the middle of a pandemic, yet the medicine cabinet in the medicine aisle is perfectly stocked. Oh my God. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about what you guys did throughout 2020 to make yourselves better. What did you learn? Where did you put in the work? Other things that took place. And I want to touch on this because I always feel bad coming up here like yelling sometimes the way that I do, but it's like, I think that's the problem, is because in everybody else's day-to-day life, it's a fucking debate. And the fact is it's not a debate. You can see they're killing you. I'm not going to sit up over here and play fiddle and lie to you and play politics and say, oh, isn't that cute? No, I'm going to tell you what's actually happening from my perspective. I'm going to explain it to the best of my factual capability to tell you, my God, if you think this is all to your benefit, you need to have your cranium examined. And yes, the methods of delivery may be a little bit crude. They may be a little bit abrasive. They may be even, they may even deter a couple people. But that doesn't, again, diminish or discredit the validity of what I'm saying. Just because everybody's so used to everything being so nice and so peace, love, and light and crystal worships and so nice. And I'm not saying anything wrong with crystal worship or praying or anything. This is not that, though. And when covering these type of things, you have to have it. You have to meet it with a certain level of vim and vigor. Otherwise, it's designed to run you over. That's just what it is. This type of work and what we are doing, it'll take every single thing you have. You can throw your whole self at it, and it'll keep laughing at you saying, you want some more? Do you want more? And so this method of explaining this information, of breaking these things down, this is how I have to meet this battle, because this truly is the animating contest of liberty. But we're going to take a quick break. Then when we come back, I'm going to be joined by you guys. I don't know why my screen keeps fading out like that, but we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about how no one is immune to the work, how 2020 revealed ourselves to ourselves, and what did this year teach you? Hopefully we'll have guests join us, and we'll be able to have a very broad-ranging discussion about these type of things. I always appreciate it when other people join. I don't say I hate hearing myself, but I love hearing everybody else because this is the house that you guys built. And with that being said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by you guys and more on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom, and we'll be right back right after this.
Victimizers beware, the racist and bigots' greatest nightmare. Social justice warriors.
It's the bias response team.
If you've been offended, your feelings must be defended. The freedom of expression is a microaggression. Here comes Angela Freddy. He's always ready to fight fascism with fascism.
Starbucks windows don't stand a chance.
Ethic enhancer. He's a systematic racism finder. Racism everywhere. Using the powers of screaming and shame, they win every debate by calling your names. They're heroes who think that they're victims. Social justice warriors.
understand what's going on around you. You are in a state of war, and you have precious little time to save yourself. It's a slow process which we call active measures. The first stage being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. The next stage is destabilization. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. The next stage is crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, period of normalization. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. The danger is real.
In a world where secret powers are at play, where nothing is as it seems, one brand of clothing gives crusaders of truth a voice. One brand in the fight against terror, deceit, and destruction. We are not merchants of fear. We are not a parody of free thinkers.
It was almost like they ignored it because they wanted it to happen.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat.
This season, get ready to awaken the masses.
Forget the politicians. Politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you.
Forbidden Clothes. Because if you know, you know.
Salutations, my friends. Salutations. We got Exploit bringing us in. I've been messing with this dude for years. Yeah. Real shit. I've been rocking with this dude since before podcasting, and he's always made ill tracks. Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to this edition of Factions of Freedom. Sometimes I like to let beats like that just ride out. That's that hip hop side of me. It's just like, yo, straight fire. Again, that is X-Boy off of his, what album is this? His Indigo EP. You can find it on DatPiff. It's only like 6 tracks long, but it's all fire tracks, no doubt. And if you're into like sweet hip hop beats like what you're hearing, definitely check them out. And with that being said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this edition of Instagram Live. We're going to be joined by you guys and more in this segment. Kind of wanted to play that quick clip of that Chinese professor. Man, too fire. I gotta say this and then I can get back into free dump faction, not freestyling. I kind of got Twitter pitted, as you heard right there with the track. When I tell you that we evolved into this position that we are in now, it's a real thing. Very real thing. I am a long way away from looking for ghosts and UFOs and not doing a Paranormal Perspective episode this year. I am a long way away from the supernatural. There's a lot of different elements that have contributed to the individual you see before you here today. And it's a journey I'm definitely willing to share with people because I think it talks about the importance of a number of things. Personal growth, overcoming, as we've talked about here on the show, cowardice, whatever personal hiccups people have, right? Whatever hangups they may have and a number of things. And so, yeah, I kind of get triggered when I play hip hop beats because I feel like I should start freestyling. But we're not doing those type of shows. In the previous segment, we were talking about the Great Renaissance, right? And how, again, no one is immune from the work. I just told you guys about like 3 or 4 different things I'm involved in. And it's important because people are very basic and they're one-dimensional, man, and that's not the case. Humans are very dynamic and beautiful creatures. We're capable of such greatness that it really kind of does get smothered. And I know when looking at all this stuff, it's kind of hard to say, well, how are humans great? How can anything be good? What good can come from this, right? But that's the thing, is no one can offer you greatness. No one can offer you happiness. No one can offer you your freedom, your destiny, your joy, your bliss, any of that. You got to go get after that. In between the break, I had to go feed my chirpies, check on them, make sure they're not cold because it's currently about 40, maybe 50 degrees out there. I had to feed the pups, and while I was just tromping around the house, I was looking at last week's podcast episode, and I saw how somebody said, oh, no one believes you, you're wasting your time. And how somebody else said, this channel is retarded, you're a fucking joke. And, I used to care about that type of stuff. I used to care like, oh God, am I not able to explain these things to win these people over? How can I appeal to them better? That was a disservice to me because you can't win every battle. You're not gonna explain everything the right way to everyone all the time. But what you can do is stay true to you. What you can do is figure out what you're doing. What is it that you are trying to convey? Don't worry about those people over there that you didn't reach this time. Worry about the people that you can reach next time with an even better message. It's hard to get into that mindset because we're always trying to say, oh, we have to win this battle, we have to win this fight. It's got to be right now. It's got to be right. It's got to be this instance. No, that isn't the case. Life is a series of trials and a series of experiences that can be shared. And if we're not taking the time to at least highlight those benefits for us, or at least highlight that beauty as an individual, then again, we're doing that disservice to ourselves and to others. And so I guess all I can really say is, again, no one is immune from the work. And I got people over here that think, oh, like 300,000 followers just appeared out of nowhere. Like you guys aren't seeing me be censored, like you aren't seeing this be shadow banned. You've got to stay, again, committed and authentic to yourself so that you can begin to move in alignment with where you're going. And don't worry, again, about reaching those people right then and there. Think about the multitudes of people that you will meet as you stay true to yourself. And I can only say that through personal experience, my friends. Like, my God, this has been the most radical experience for me. 7 years, 8 years, going on 8 years doing this type of work by myself for half a decade, and I'm linking up with people here in these past 2 years. It has been a bitchin' ride, and I cannot lie. And so that's all I can recommend to you guys, is to go out there, go try it, go experience it for yourself. Realize, no, that nigga EJ wasn't lying. Nope, no. What this stuff will have you do is it'll have you saying, you know what, I'm weak. You know what, I allow failure. You know what, I allow procrastination, I allow fear, I allow all of these, as the New Agers say, lower vibrational emotions to dictate what I do. You'll learn about courage. You'll learn about strength. You'll learn about determination. You'll learn about passion, love, so much that that you'll be like, oh my God, I got to share this with people. I have to help them find theirs. And that's how I'm able to come up here week after week, is because it's not for me that I'm doing this. It's for whatever the heck it is I represent, whatever the heck it is I'm allowed to do. It's whatever I've been able to carve out over these 7 to 8 years. And that's why, again, I tell you my secrets. I tell you what I'm doing. But this is how you do it. Here's a cheat code. Boom, go, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Do it until you can't do it anymore. And then watch how people pick you up because they saw you do it. And then watch how you will have created a support system of people who are only there to empower you, even when they don't think they are. Yeah, that's why I can't come up here and just blah, 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 bullcrap you and scare you. I can't do that. Something about like how I'm configured and wired doesn't allow for bitch ass shit to keep coming through. I got to be honest. I got to tell you, and I got to try to help you the way that I wasn't helped. It's that truth. The way that I wasn't helped. You know, I'm going ahead and scrolling through all those comments. I don't know why I got caught up, but you know, let me get into this a little bit, and then I'll continue on, and we'll start pulling people on, and hopefully discussing this again with guests and individuals like yourself. You know, what did this year teach you? You know, when I say that nobody is immune from the work, I say that with quotation marks. And I was trying to figure out like a cheeky way to use the immune word, since we're like in a pandemic, but I can't figure out any way. No one's immune from the work. No one's able to escape the things that they have to do internally to overcome the external. You know, I heard this earlier today, and it makes so much sense that it doesn't feel like I'm a part of this world. It feels like I'm a part of the other world. It feels like I'm a part of wherever all the magic happens, wherever all the ideas happen, wherever like all the whatever happens at like the middle of the night, whatever. It doesn't feel like I'm a part of this, simply because that's not where I'm interacting. I didn't get that PlayStation 5, right? I didn't do these type of things. I'm invested in a world bigger than our own. And I know that doesn't make sense, but that's what I mean. No one's immune from this type of work, doing the internal work so that you can survive the external. And when I tell you that we are in the hybrid wars of 2020 with psychological warfare, spiritual warfare, biological warfare, economic warfare, legal warfare, right? People are beginning to understand, again, those assets, those tools, the weapons at their disposal, right? And this is a real thing. You got to dig deep. Long-time listeners, I'm sure you guys are thinking, my God, EJ sounds crazy these days, but he's so on point. I told you just last week, I'm not that smart. I'm just coming into contact with things that are forcing me to evolve, to change, to grow. Not necessarily to adapt to the adversity, but to, again, be able to match it. What did we talk about in the previous segment? escalating in order to neutralize, so that these people don't run tyranny's operations on you. You get me? No one's immune from that. And week after week, month after month, year after year, when we come here before you and talk about whatever is happening during this week, during this month, during this crisis, this false flag, whatever it may be, it's the series of decisions and choices that contribute to that ultimate goal of doing the work, of making those judgment calls, of having that gut check, of saying, am I this type of person? Do I really mean these things? Am I really about that life? 2020 revealed ourselves to who we really are. And I don't mean that in a... I was telling people this all weekend, that 2020 revealed ourselves to ourselves without the DMT, without the drugs. Yeah, without the drugs, a lot of people were able to deeply look themselves into the mirror and say, what is it that I want to do? Who am I? As they saw echoes of their past robbed from them, as they sit in social isolation. You know, I want to read real quick this article from Neutralize that talks about this Gallup poll of how Americans' mental health low has hit a 20-year low ahead of new lockdowns, and then I'll kind of continue on with talking about these type of things, because I've said this going into the pandemic and throughout the pandemic that, again, the mental health epidemic that is being caused by the pandemic is one that's going to be felt for decades to come, and I mean that because I said it in the last segment. That's why the only people that really won during the election were the drugs. They see that people are being broken down. That's their goal, to strangle them like Jeffrey Epstein, so they can, again, give you drugs to pacify you. We got to go through all this stuff. When I tell you just last segment that we're somewhat going into bondage, we got to learn what freedom is. We've been slacking for so long. Salutations, Lori. I can't. Message me. Or send me a request and join the chat. I'm doing a thing right now. I'm telling the folks about how we're being strangled like Jeffrey Epstein and how that's the plan, because they want to get us to capitulate into taking more drugs. That way we can be pacified and not going through these periods of adversity and change that are designed to make us better. That's not the case. People want to do drugs. They want to drink the alcohol. They want to disassociate from reality and let these tyrannical governors and politicians run roughshod. We can't do that. We have to go through these hardships. We have to go through these traumas to learn we can never let this shit happen again. So here, let me read this quick article and then we'll continue on. This comes from Neutralize. Over there, they put this up December 7th. It says, Gallup poll, Americans' mental health hits a 20-year low ahead of renewed lockdowns. It says in California and other parts of the country, Americans are headed back in a lockdown or otherwise facing renewed restrictions on their day-to-day lives amid another spike of COVID-19. Yet a new Gallup poll shows these lockdowns come as people are already struggling with their mental health. Quote, Americans' latest assessment of their mental health is worse than it has been at any point in the last 2 decades, the Gallup reports. The new polling found that 34% of respondents said that their mental health was, quote, excellent, which is 9 points down from 2019. Similarly, 85% of Americans had rated their mental health as, quote, good or excellent in 2019. Just 76% did this year. This poll only further documents an ongoing trend. As John Miltimore previously explained for FEE.org, the Centers for Disease Control found that 1 in 4 young Americans considered suicide this past summer amid life under lockdown and unprecedented levels of social isolation. In one anecdote that painfully demonstrates this broader trend, a California hospital doctor told local news in May that during lockdown he witnessed, quote, a year's worth of suicide attempts in the last 4 weeks. And we covered that then too when that statistic came out, because it truly does encapsulate how crazy stuff is. I'm not sure if I have the flyer here, but one of the most recent groups I linked up with, Concerned Citizens for New Mexico, they're coming together with that lawsuit to fight social isolation because they're aware that it is a form of child abuse. I just read it to you right there. Just last week, we didn't get around to posting it, a kid in California blew his brains out in a Zoom class to where his sister, in another Zoom class just next door, had to come ask the teacher to call 911 because the kid committed suicide. You're telling children who they don't have ADD, they're friggin' kids, they're growing up. You're telling children who are used to playing, being buck wild, going outside, being nuts, doing that, scruff up your legs, you know, get a couple scabs, get into a bunch of fights, you know, do whatever. You're telling children you're not allowed to go outside. You're telling children you got to sit down for extended periods of time. They say kids going to church is child abuse because they got to sit still for like 2 hours. But forcing a child to sit still and stare at a screen for the majority of the day, that's not child abuse? No, that's indoctrination. That's what that is. That's indoctrination. And so back into the topics. A year's worth of suicide attempts in the last 4 weeks. That was the point, is to get people to kill themselves. That's the point. That's what I mean by the anti-human nature of COVID-19, where you got Karens and Kens thinking it's their social responsibility to mask shame people. Can you imagine living like this? Thinking that, oh my God, this is supposed to be the cat's meow. We're in a pandemic so lethal I have to get tested to see whether or not I have it. Think about this. Let me see if I can get somebody else to join us before we continue on. Lori, join us. Join us. Let's see if we can get Lori Alexander to join us and grace us with her presence. If not, oh my good golly God, Lori.
Hello, my dear.
Oh, Lori, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm trying not to be fired up, but since you joined us, there's no way for me not to be. Oh my God, how are you?
Oh, I don't have my camera on because I'm not feeling well. I just crawled out of bed, and I try to when I see you go live, I try to come over here and at least just listen, because as usual, you are just spot on.
The credit all goes to you, Lori. If you didn't, I don't want to be sexual here. If you didn't pop my cherry, we would not be here. But the credit definitely goes to you. Oh my God.
I am so proud of you and the direction that you are going and the research that you do. You know, I've cut back so much doing what we're doing because of the censorship. But Robbie and I are looking, we're going to start going live here on Instagram. I think that's our next phase.
Do it.
So, yeah.
I'm probably going to end up migrating to Parler because
we're on Parler, but you can't live stream over there yet.
I know. What I'll probably have to do shows over here like every Tuesday or possibly Thursday, but I'm going to migrate probably primarily to Parler. And I don't know the full configuration yet. I'm still trying to figure it out, man, because I can't stay here. That's for sure. They'll get me. I think everybody knows that. And I don't want to keep saying, oh, follow my backup or, you know, follow this other page because I'm still on that platform.
I know.
And so I'm running and gunning the best way I can. But
we all are at this point. We can't talk about anything. I mean, now that YouTube has changed up their terms of service again, now if you even mention COVID or if you even mention the vaccines, you get hit with a strike and you get accused of medical disinformation. So,
but think about this. What point are we at in history to where they're saying, you know what, you're not allowed to seek your own personal advice. You're not allowed to go do your own research. You're not allowed to literally listen to doctors hold a summit saying, don't get the vaccine. Like, wait, Lori, like, holy crap. Like, think about where we're at right now.
We
Like,
are
all
in the
this-
era of a new generation of Dr. Mengeles.
Yes.
We are in a new generation of the brown shirts. We are in a new generation of not being able to think for ourselves, because not only have they dumbed us down information wise for the last 3 decades, but now they're drugging us. We knew this was happening back in the 80s when the medical doctors got involved in our children's social behavior, okay, modification, if you want to say, you know, giving our kids these drugs to, you know, stupefy them and to put them into a category of social acceptable social behaviors. You know, now we're seeing the same thing take place. I as a matter of fact, when I first got up today, and I can't find it. It's one of those, I was groggy and I kind of went back to sleep, but I don't know if I read it or if I listened to a video, but they were talking about how this whole thing, they want to break apart, they want to fracture our social interactions with other people. Yes. And what they're doing is exactly what you're talking about. They're trying to weed out the people with the mental illnesses. They're trying to weed, like, I mean, come on. The first people that are going to be getting this vaccine are the elderly. We already know the elderly. I mean,
this is population control. This is eugenics.
Absolutely, this is population control.
That's why I'm glad you.
And I got to tell you something.
Please do.
We are going to see millions of people dead in the next year.
Well, Lori,
I mean,
Lori, you said it. This is a continuation of Joseph Mengele. This is a continuation of Nazi ideology, of the very same like structure that's adapting itself here globally.
I mean, come on. If you can't, here's the thing: is if you don't learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. And we are repeating it. We are repeating it because the people that lived through that time aren't here anymore to warn us about it.
Yes, ma'am. Lori, even talking about history, were you with me in the previous segment where I had compared what we're about to go into to the days of Noah? Were you with us in the previous segment?
I was not. I just tuned in as soon as I messaged you on that. No, I didn't. But here's the thing about that is we are going into a new age.
Yes,
I don't know if people are aware of it, but people have been talking about it since the 60s with the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Yep.
And people think that this is a age of, because right now we're in the era of Pisces. On December 21st, in just a couple of weeks, we are going to enter into the age of Aquarius, the age that they want through the songs in the 60s, the love and the peace. That is just the opposite. We are entering into a dawn of chaos where we are going to be witnessing things that are so evil and so, just completely mind-blowing. And it's funny because the only people that are talking about this new age of Aquarius that we're going into are the New Agers, are the Galactic Federation of Light, and they're calling it the event. Okay, the event is coming.
Lori, I gotta stop you. Oh my God, I miss you so much. First and foremost, I gotta tell you that. Secondly, December 21st or December 12th, that is that transitional event. I've been talking about it with some of our exclusive members. They've definitely made it that much more clear to me. I think it's like the grand solar minimum or whatever the celestial conjunction is, but it's just that christening time frame as we move forward into this new age of Aquarius. And we've talked about that time and time again. Mm-hmm. What did Aleister Crowley say? The age of the crowned and conquering child. So please continue.
Well, I mean, this is something that we're going to be seeing. I mean, I believe that they're going to be using this event because Saturn and Jupiter, they are going to be in a in Mars are going to be close to one another. We're going to be seeing this. The Christians are saying, "Oh, it's such a great event. It's the Christmas star all over again." And that's not the case. I mean, they're going to be opening up these portals. They're going to be doing their rituals. They're going to be, what's coming is, people are not prepared for what is coming in the next 12 to 18 to 24 months. We are going to be seeing things. The Bible tells us, and I don't know if your followers are Christians or what their denomination is, but you know what? Here's the thing. Whether you believe in the Bible or not, it doesn't matter, because the people that are running the things, the people that are pulling the strings in this world, they believe it enough to use it as a playbook. Yes, the Bible tells us that we are going to see things so horrific that men's hearts will fail them. They will seek death. They will not be able to find it. I mean, this is what's coming. Believe it or not, you can't, in a few months, nobody's going to be able to deny it. But the problem with it is once people start taking this vaccine, once it starts this cycle of things that are going to be coming, they're going to get past, they're going to hit that event horizon where, you know what, they're not going to be able to go back.
Lori, I'm not sure if you remember, but I remember doing a show with you where I kept asking the question, like, are these people trying to trigger prophecy? And what you said right there, is that it precisely? These people they know the Bible in and out. Unfortunately, our audience is well too informed on the events and activities of the Satanists and the Luciferians. We've had too many shows where we covered them, and we're on them like flies on hot shit. That's the sad truth, is they've definitely grown. But back to triggering prophecy, I thoroughly believe that's where we're at right now. You said it before. These people know the Bible. They know what they're doing. When you literally have Bill Gates getting a patent together to literally turn people into technocratic, transhuman, Bitcoin mining machines, that's the mark of the beast.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. And people ask me all the time, I don't understand why Bill Gates is involved in this whole thing. Guess what? The reason why Bill Gates is involved in all of this is because the human DNA, the human genome, is nothing more than a computer program. To him. And they have ways, they have mapped out the genome, they have ways and they have abilities to rewrite that program.
I just got to say, Lori, real quick, because I do love and miss you so much. This is, again, the lady that brought me into this. Go ahead and plug all your work. This is the lady that was the, I don't want to say progenitor, but she brought me into this, and you can see why. Lori, please plug all your pages before we jump back in.
Okay, well, you can find Robbie D and I. We are back together again. We are trying our hardest to stay above water over on YouTube. You can find us at the Global Watchman News YouTube channel. You can find us you can find me on Facebook, Lori Alexander Swan. I finally have my real name back after being banned for so long. I was using an alter, and we got a new internet provider, so I was able to now be myself again. But you can find me over there. I'm under Lori Alexander Swan, and you can find, I have a page over there, Lori Swan, again trying to hold it up above water and below radar. I am over here on Instagram, Lori Alexander Swan on Instagram. I'm over on Parler. I'm on USA Life.
Good. Are you on D-Live too?
We do have a D Live, but I'm going to tell you, we haven't instituted it yet because I have to learn how to do OBS.
Okay.
All right. But as soon as we learn that, Robbie's going to be working on that. I'm taking a vacation the next week or so. I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. Robbie's going to be working on that, but we're going to start hitting D Live hard as soon as I get back.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan. I'm going to come up with a whole different way to distribute the information, because the configuration we have right now works for what we're doing, but we definitely have to adapt or we'll get overran.
Yeah, we have to stay one step ahead of the tyranny as far as with trying to silence us. I mean, it's really bad over on Facebook. It's real. As a matter of fact, I'm on a 7-day suspension right now for talking about the COVID-19 vaccine.
Well, speaking of being on some kind of watch list, there are helicopters just kind of circling overhead. I'm not sure if you guys can hear it, but that's definitely what's going on. And I say that because, you know, I have to cover it on the podcast eventually. A couple weeks ago, a doctor was rated live time for just reporting on COVID. We posted a video just today of how a COVID-19 data scientist's home was raided. Guns were pointed at the family and computers are seized. And all of this is coming from people like myself and, you know, people like you doing this type of work, trying to get this information out here, all to wake up the public so that we don't have to go into bondage. How crazy is that?
I've heard, and I can't, I've not verified, I've not vetted this yet, but I've heard that, because I do have a research team. I did put together a research team, really good. Great team. I just throw something in there and oh my goodness. So about 2 weeks ago, I was like, look, you guys need to get me everything you can on this vaccine. And some of the things that they've pulled up, some of the connections that they've made between the pharmaceutical companies and big, the elite names, we've uncovered what we believe to be the next phase of this. And the next phase that looks like it's going to be is that anybody who is an anti-vaxxer will be labeled as a domestic terrorist, and then the military will step in. Now, they're doing drills right now on how they are going to mass inoculate people. And here's the thing is a lot of people are, it's coming back and saying, oh, it's fake news. The fact checkers are coming back saying it's not true. The military's not involved. Well, guess what? It is involved. And I believe that all these social media platforms need to be held accountable when the time comes.
Oh, Lori, oh my God. Couple things there. LA County Mayor says not wearing a mask is an act of domestic terrorism. Just last week, there are all kinds of information coming out there saying, hey, we're going to ban you. We're going to lock you up if you're not wearing your mask. So many different things there. Oh my gosh. You know, just the other week, I was reading Joe Biden's COVID-19 lockdown plan. And in that plan, it said, it confirmed that it confirmed what I was looking at when the UN said that they were going to have over 110,000 social media influencers helping to begin to push COVID-approved information. So not only do you have Joe Biden having a nationwide lockdown plan where he expects to conscript or pull in other social media influencers to help push this propaganda, but you also have the United Nations, where you know for sure they're going to have people like Greta Thunberg say, heck yeah, I'm going to take my shot. The people are so hesitant about this, they have to roll out the previous puppet slaves, Obama, Bush, and Clinton, because they know full well this is not going to go well.
This is to the script. If you read the secret covenant, it says right in the secret covenant that they will use our heroes to get us to do what they want us to do. I think it's funny that Obama, the same person who went to Detroit and faked drinking their water, is going to get you know a shot on camera. I don't believe they will. I don't believe that the vaccine will be in those shots. If they do, you know, there's different sets of rules for them and for us. They are not going to take that vaccine. I would put my life on that.
Yes. Well, that's the thing is they need bodies. They need bodies. They need to continue the experiment. That's the problem. Whenever you have Bill Gates and Melinda Gates saying that healthcare workers need to get a vaccine, Black folks need to get a vaccine, and elderly need to get the vaccine. Think about the different demographics that they have right there. Who has been potentially exposed to it? Who has a compromised immune system? And who is obviously susceptible to catching more diseases? It's a population control agenda. They're trying to eradicate not only the frontline workers, but at the same time the other people that would be able to have a defense and immune system to resist it. It's all designed to kill people. Like this is, and when I'm saying it's a continuation of the experiment as well, think about that. They're violating the Nuremberg Code right now. They're doing public experiments. They're telling us people are going to get hurt. Here are some of the adverse side effects. We're doing it anyway. They need to get that certain percentage of the population that has taken the shot so they can continue on studying it. That's what's in Biden's COVID-19 lockdown plan, as well as in Operation Dark Winter. They want to create a medical surveillance state akin to what happened to the Tuskegee experiments, to where they can, in live time, watch some of these adverse vaccine reactions to people. And that's what we're experiencing right now. That's why they're making it social and trendy. CVS and Walgreens has vaccines. Go see them. So they can
and they're going to pay people. They're offering $1,500 for you to get the test. You know, and here's the thing: is have you seen? I just saw a video today, and I will send it to you over on Facebook. I just downloaded it. I can't upload it to YouTube because they'll hit me for medical misinformation. But it's called the SPARS, SPARS pandemic. It's through Johns Hopkins University, and it's, listen to the dates, 2025 to 2028. This isn't going away, guys.
2025 to 2028? This is the SPARS or the SARS? It's called
the SPARS pandemic, 2025 to 2028. Okay. And
you guys can see why I love Lori. Always teaching me stuff. I love it.
Let me see. Can you?
People in the comments are saying Lupe Fiasco is already pushing the vaccine. I used to love listening to Kick Push by
I don't know if you can see it or not.
That's a darn shame. But what does it say?
It's I don't know if you can see it. Give me a second here. Can you see that?
It's a little blurry.
But it's the SPARS. I'll send it to you. I just downloaded the video. I need to get it uploaded into some platform. I'm thinking about making a backup to the backup on YouTube and throwing stuff up there so I can grab it real quick. But this is it talks about, it's called the SPARS, SPARS pandemic, through the Johns Hopkins University. And it says the futuristic scenario for public health risk communicators. And what it does, it's talking about that this is our norm. This is that we will be wearing masks from now on. They will continue keeping us isolated from one another because that's what they want. They want a fractured social platform, social interactions with people. They don't want people. They want us locked in our homes. And this is for a reason. When you don't have contact with other human beings, only through social media or only through the computer. Okay, look at you and I have talked about. We have talked about the spirits that come through, the techno sorcery that's used through our telephones, through our computers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
If you only get your information off of that computer, flicker rates. I mean, I could go into all of this because it's all going to play a part in it. Think of somebody who's already got a unhealthy mind.
Mm-hmm. And the echo chambers they put us in.
And these people, you know, they hear the voices, and the voices are telling them, you know what, you're not worth anything. You have nobody. You're alone. You know, these people are already fractured individuals. And then to have this echo chamber just pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. You know, they're not allowed to do this. They have, you know, our faces are our individuality. They are who we are. Yes. And to have to keep that covered and not be able to see the expression. EJ, our animals, our pets, they look at our face for expression on how we feel that day, or how we are interacting with animals. It's the same thing with people. I walk through these stores now. I have I'm immune deficient through having lupus. I only wear a mask because, you know what? I went through the whole police calling thing when this first started, and I'm so over it. Now I just throw the mask on just so I can get through the store, grab what I need. You know, I know it's dumb. I know that, you know, I'm not in any risk and I'm not putting anybody else at risk. I look at the things, you know, come on. You didn't wipe that keypad off before the person in front of me used it. Now I'm going to use it. The guy behind me is going to use it. But yet you guys are afraid that if I'm not going to wear a mask, come on. But the thing of it is they want to push people. They want to push you into an unnatural way of life.
Yes.
Human beings aren't designed to not have contact with other people. I mean, I watched, we turned TV on a couple weeks ago. It was on a Friday night. I think it was WWE was on. And did you know that the entire audience was through Zoom? They had Zoom screens up on the walls.
I couldn't imagine watching wrestling through Zoom, man.
EJ, it reminded me of a futuristic movie I was watching. Like, you know, like I don't know. I just got this feeling like, oh my goodness, I've watched this, and this was a post-apocalyptic movie in the 80s. It's just insane, but they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it to fracture our personalities. They're doing it to fracture our will to live.
Yes, you know, it is so appropriate to hear you say this, because we have a frequent returning guest that always calls in, Kalinda of Massage Therapy, and she's big into yoga. She's big into body movement and things like this, and that's exactly what she was saying, is how the mask is, again, designed to rob us of our individuality. It's blocking the throat chakra. It blocks our ability to communicate, to express ourselves, to talk about these things, to have, again, that individuality. That's essentially what it is we are being robbed of our sovereignty, of our individuality, of our personality, of who we are as people. And that's all been done by design. Just to touch on what you were saying beforehand, these pockets of normality and how they're designed to fracture us. Just before coming on, I was reading this article about how Americans' mental health has hit a 20-year low ahead of these new lockdowns. But Dr. David Nabarro, the World Health Organization Special Envoy, recently did an interview on Sky News, and he talked about how there's going to be, quote, big patches of normality coming up, but not everyone will be vaccinated for at least a couple of years. So normal life as we know it is a couple of years away for the world, he added. And so what this is what I was talking about in the previous segment. They are holding hostage our sense of normalcy, our sense of happiness, of what life means to us. And so whenever, I guess, like what I'm going to get around to saying eventually and having to do shows on is things like speakeasies, the real underground culture, where we're going to have a literal cultural pushback against this. I was saying how earlier, start of the show, previous segment, I went to a restaurant and they had to get some brisket fries, which were delicious. They had a little sign-in kiosk right there. It said, please sign in if you support contact tracing. And the way that it was worded, it had to be a joke. And so I go up there to the server, to the lady at the register. I'm like, that's a joke, right? She's like, yeah, basically. Our boss shines. He's not down for that. And he's putting it there to kind of put that in people's faces to get them to wake up. And so that's what's going to happen. Yeah, there's going to be patches of normality, but there's also going to be patches of freedom. And that's where we're going to have to start really discussing that, again, that cultural and societal shift that's going to take place, because people can't go along with this. You're telling people they can't work. You're not giving them money. You're kicking them out on the streets. Yeah. It can't happen like this.
Well, people they're being pressured by these Karens and Kens. I mean,
yes, ma'am.
You know, and again, going back to the Bible, and I always have to, because I mean, we are living in these biblical times right now, where it says, yes, brother shall go against brother to the death. And that's exactly what these Karens and Kens, or whatever the heck you want to call them, these people. I mean, this, to me, this vaccine certificate is nothing more than a golden Star of David on my shirt.
Yep. Yeah, we are now the Jews. We have been enslaved by the Nazis.
Yep. Welcome to the New World Order.
People can't see it.
Exactly.
But again, this ties into what you were talking about beforehand with Joseph Mengele, and again, that Nazi ideology resurfacing itself to where we've been enslaved by this technocratic system, and we have to prove our worth as if we've been instantly dehumanized. We're just dirty, petty humans that may or may not have contracted COVID. So now we have to We have to declare our worth to you people.
Exactly. No, it's
When did this happen?
Exactly. And the bad part of it is, EJ, is that there are so few of us that are pushing back.
Yeah.
We did a kind of a little survey here, Dave and I, because, you know, him and I are on the same page as far as everything, you know. We will not be getting COVID vaccines. And here's the thing, guys, is they've now admitted that COVID was here last year. Even before China reported their first case, we had people getting sick here. Dave, we believe Dave had it earlier this year before it even hit U.S. soil. So before patient zero was located here in Chicago, Dave had it here in Chicago, okay? And he just had recent surgery. He just had a COVID test before he went and had the surgery. And he came back negative. But here's the thing with that is that you've got these people who are thinking that they're doing what's right.
Virtue signalers.
Yeah. And I don't understand their way of thinking. I really don't. I mean, I watch people's postings on this all the time. I've gotten into a couple conversations and they've told me that I'm selfish to not get vaccinated. I'm selfish to not wear, you know, and I said, and all the time I'm like, here's the thing, guys. If your mask works so well, why do you care if I have one?
Just more to your point, Lori, just to talk a little bit more about what you were saying. New Jersey, here's a couple quick article headlines for you. New Jersey rate of non-co-option with contact tracers now up to a whopping 74% of cases. Volunteers to patrol streets, enforce mask mandates. Facebook bans anti-vaccine.
Mandates, not laws. Mandates are suggestions. They're not laws.
Right here, chief medical officer says Canadians who refuse vaccine won't, quote, won't have freedom to move around. And so we've been talking about it throughout the entirety of this transmission with the mental health lockdown. What is Stockholm Syndrome, Lori? I thought it was 15 days to slow the spread. And now we're talking about forced isolation. When we're talking about these people, these Kins, these Karens, these people that have basically been broken and put into these positions, they no longer think that there is a freedom. They now think that it is their job to rob you of your freedoms. Hillary Clinton and Joy Behar, at the start of this protest, or at the start of this pandemic, said that these anti-lockdown protesters were domestic terrorists. Look at these silly people trying to get back to work and have jobs. They're terrorists. And as we said right now,
they are pushing for Jassara Nassara financial reset, global reset, where everybody will be happy with their universal minimum income that they're going to be given. We are literally walking into a territory that we've been here before. It's just that those of us that are young, well, younger, I'm in my 50s, but I wasn't alive during World War II. I wasn't alive to see this. But you know what? I've read the history books and I can see the writing on the wall. We are walking straight back into the Nazi mentality.
Yep. And that's the thing is, again, people can't see it because they don't care about history. I see people in the chat right now saying read 1984.
Yes.
You know, they don't study books. They don't go listen to what these people are saying. Klaus Schwab tells you what he's going to do. Yep. Bill Gates told us what he was going to do.
They have to, they under Kabbalistic beliefs what their plans are. And what they do is it's kind of like with the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz, they basically told us about the Federal Reserve, the yellow brick road, brick gold. The Wizard or the Wizard of Oz.
Lori, you kind of cut out. Can you guys hear? I can't hear. I can't hear anything. Lori, I can't hear you. Okay. I'm going to just say that I think we should do a show with G. Edward Griffin. He follows the page, and I follow him. We should do a show with G. Edward Griffin. I can't hear you, Lori. Try to leave and then hop back in. I don't know what happened. We were doing a show, and as always, it cut out. Leave and then rejoin. So, like, send a request, and then, yeah, that happens, famously. I remember doing a show about Russian training bases, and I forget where in Russia, but I was going over Project Stargate, Project Sunlane, Project Real Flame, Project Sunstreak, and I was reading the documents on air with Lori. They terminated that transmission. We started back up. I started reading from the documents again. They turned it off again. I started the transmission back up one more time, and then talked about something else for 30 minutes, and then they allowed for it to happen. But let's go ahead and get Lori back on. Again, that's Project Stargate, Project Grill Flame, Project Centerlane, and Project Sunstreak. I was just catching them up on how that typically happens whenever we have conversations.
Let me tell you something. If we weren't live broadcasting, that was when we were on Revolution Radio, and we were simulcasting over on YouTube. And if we had a packed room, a chat room, and if we didn't do that live in the air, nobody would have believed that it happened to us. But we took down the entire Revolution Radio. The entire platform went down.
It happens. Sometimes we're saying so much truth, they don't want to hear it.
It happens a lot when you and I are together, to tell you the truth.
Oh, that's why it needs to happen. I don't know if you heard, I was saying that we need to do a show with G. Edward Griffin. He follows the page, and I've been in contact with him. We need to do a show with G. Edward Griffin and talk about all this stuff, man.
Absolutely. You set it up. I will be there.
Okay. Lori, we're running out of time.
Yeah, I'm going to get going. I'm going to let you finish
up. My God.
Guys, this man, he's spot on with things. You disagree if you want, but here's the thing: is don't believe anything him or I tell you. Mm-hmm. Study to show yourself approved. Do your own due diligence. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, EJ, keep it up. I love you.
Do you wanna plug all your pages real quick and let the audience know something, and then head on out?
Global Watchman News.
Words.
Global Watchman News. We're over on YouTube. We're on. I'm here on Instagram under Lori Alexander Swan. I'm over on Facebook, Lori Alexander Swan. I've got a Lori Swan public page that you guys can follow. We are live over on Global Watchman News on YouTube. We're live pretty much every night of the week lately. And myself and Robbie D from the UK. Come on over, join us. We have live chat. We'd love to have you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Lori. Be safe. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, DJ. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, man. Lori. What a legend, huh? What a legend. Yeah, we've done episodes with people that were MK Ultra sex slaves. We've done shows with Fritz Springmeier. We've done 4-hour transmissions on like Satanism, on the Elder Protocols of Zion. Like, the sad truth is Lori kind of wound me up, and then I just kind of went off and did all this other stuff. But yeah, no, if you guys didn't know, longtime listeners, guess what? Lori just joined us. How cool is that? Some of you new guys, Lori Alexander of the Underground Resistance Network, now the Global Watchman News. Again, she was one of the progenitors that helped me get into this. We have done so many different shows on so many different topics that there's no way I could go back to normal. She had over 500,000 followers on Facebook on several different pages. She had the Satanic World Government, or Exposing Satanic World Government, and the Underground Resistance Network, and various other pages. And in total, I think the conglomerate, she'd had millions of followers, but then all the censorship stuff started happening like years ago. So she kind of had to do the same thing we're doing, jump from different pages to different platforms to get the work out there. Then, as you can tell, guys, this stuff is, it'll get to you. It'll break you down. And so it's just always an honor, whenever Lori joins us to talk about these things and more, because as you guys are already aware, she's an extraordinarily strong woman and a brave woman for doing all this thing. And to pull me up here and say, get up here, it's your turn. I couldn't be more honored and grateful to be in this position. And so, yeah, a lot of the work you guys see kind of comes from that right there, and from that mindset and everything else. So it is always an honor whenever Lori joins us. I'll be sure to put her information in the description bar below. I unfortunately didn't. We don't have a lot of time. I think we have a little under 3 minutes left. I just got so fired up by her joining us and talking about all this stuff that I unfortunately took away time from everybody else. But this is how it is, man. You know, this is really how it is. I'm going to talk more about that, do some digging into the SPARS pandemic from 2025 to 2028. I feel like that's COVID-19 a couple of years from now, whenever Bill Gates says that this is a practice run from what's to come. I think that's what's to come. And again, right now, they're just getting us used to seeing all these experiments go on, having all these adverse reactions, having all this death take place, and then just go about your normal lives. Don't worry about it. Trust the science. There are people smarter than you handling things. I think that's a lot of what we're seeing right now, is that preparation and continuation of that. You know, and as we heard us talk about throughout the entirety of this is just a continuation of the Nazi ideology. I heard somebody say over there, oh, you're comparing yourself to the Jews? Yeah, persecution's a real thing. And we're going back into bondage, and we've got to start fighting it now. But a fabulous conversation. The timer just popped down. You know, how do you close these things out? You know, they are trying to kill us. They are trying to suppress us. They're trying to break our spirit and our mind. And if we let them, they will. But as I said before, if you don't begin to put the work in, or at least build a pathway towards redemption, or a pathway towards salvation, or a pathway towards actual recognizable progress that you can see and that you can share with others, they've already won. We can't allow them to smother the human spirit. We're so much greater than where we are now, and we can't allow them to determine our trajectory. But however, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I really have for you guys and gals. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or Lori. I'll have that information in the description bar below. And as always, guys and gals, stay vigilant, expose lies, and share truth. This is Noise Era, Freedom Faction, and Lori Alexander of the Global Watchman News.